Hi, Tina. Welcome to our segment of Dynamic Accountability. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Tinotenda Chishiri, and I'm the Civic Action Team's Project Officer for Accountability Lab Zimbabwe. Basically, CIVAX, or Civic Action Teams, we call it CIVAX for short, is a citizen-driven engagement initiative that aims to close the feedback loop on community challenges between communities and their leaders.
Would you mind telling us what is dynamic accountability for you in your day-to-day basis? What does it look in practice?
Dynamic accountability, for me, I think is enshrined in the values that Accountability Lab Zimbabwe has. And, these values basically guide the way that we do our work. So one of the values is integrity. And basically, we pledge to be accountable to our stakeholders by continually evaluating our impact with the work that we do. So when we're evaluating our impact, we're not necessarily just looking at the results, but we're also looking at the stakeholder experience, the experience that the stakeholders are having in engaging with us and the work that we do. So maybe I'll give a specific example. At the heart of CIVAX, our community volunteers called Community Frontline Associates. These collect information on the challenges that are within communities, and they also convene platforms for engagement. So one of the things that we do with these Community Frontline Associates is we conduct regular check-ins with them, just to find out how they are, how the work is, and also if they're facing any challenges and how best we can work together to address some of those challenges, and to also ask if they have any suggestions to improve the work. Another value is we're open to trying new ideas and taking risks to further our mission, and we acknowledge and learn from our failures and adapt to changing circumstances. So how this looks in practice is with our partnerships, civic action teams. We are implementing it through 4 really amazing partners that we have on the ground. So basically, these partners are very different in nature. They have different ways of working. They also have different strengths and different weaknesses. Maybe I'll just give an example, share an experience that we had with regards to acknowledging and learning from our failures, talking about dynamic accountability. In our first year of implementing civic action teams, we, as Accountability Lab Zimbabwe, we hadn't really taken the time to fully understand the different strengths that these organizations have, and also just to fully understand the different ways of working. So what we did is we then apportioned the activities or the targets that we had equally amongst the 4 partners. But as a result of that, there ended up being some challenges, and we were unable to reach our targets because some of the activities we had apportioned to certain organizations were not in line with their way of working. So I'll give an example of one particular organization that is an underground organization, and it prefers to work under the radar, and so is not really into activities that have something to do with publicity, because they want to protect their staff as well as protect the community members. So we had asked them to do radio shows, which was not in line with the way that they were working. So yeah, as a result of that, we did have a few challenges, and as a result, we were not able to meet our targets for that year. But in the second year, we were able to learn from that failure to reach our target, and we acknowledged that we hadn't taken the time to really understand the ways that each of these partners work. So we got into dialogue with these different partners just to have a better understanding of their strengths, their weaknesses, and the best way that they work. And we were able to apportion the activities appropriately or accordingly to each of the partners according to their strengths. And in the second year, we were actually able to exceed our targets. So with regards to innovation and dynamic accountability and learning and acknowledging and learning from our failures, these are some of the other ways that we put that in practice. And then another value that we have is humility, where we basically recognize that local people know best how to create change in their community. So basically we do this through our programming, and with Accountability Lab, our mission is about supporting active citizens, accountable institutions, and responsible leaders. So that means we aren't prescriptive, but we come in and support initiatives that are already existing. So we do that through CIVAX, where we facilitate co-creation of solutions between communities and their leaders, with solutions coming from the communities themselves. And then we also have other programs such as an accountability incubator, where we support young people with ideas on how to promote accountability within their communities. And we support that through mentorship, through training. We also work with artists who do film, who do music, around promoting social consciousness and accountability, and we support that. So that is another way we put that into practice. And I think lastly, looking at the value of collaboration, we strive to listen and learn and find positive ways to collaborate with everyone that we can. So as well, again, going back to referring to the CIVAX work that I do, we have created a CIVAX collaborative framework, that's what we call it, where ourselves as Accountability Lab Zimbabwe and our partners get to talk to, listen to each other, and learn from each other in various platforms that we've created to facilitate that. So I think in a nutshell, that is basically what dynamic accountability is to us as Accountability Lab Zimbabwe, and how we practice it. We practice it through our values that guide the work that we do.
And what do you think it would happen if you stop doing that and then stop practicing dynamic accountability? What would happen with your programs, for example?
Practicing dynamic accountability, there would be a loss of trust, from the different stakeholders that we work with. And trust, I think, is very important for there to be a working relationship, that's functional, that's working, that's able to produce, the objectives and the results that we strive to achieve. And, with the lack of trust also comes, secondary challenges as well, such as resistance to the work, and also just the lack of ownership from the stakeholders that we seek to serve. That also impacts on sustainability, and just overall it negatively impacts on the performance of the project. So yeah, I think it all just boils down to trust. If there's a lack of trust, then it impacts negatively on the performance.